Hello, friends, and welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate, where we are on a quest. We are looking for the extra in the ordinary. And I'm Tad Fulford, and I will be your host on this journey where we will take an honest look at what makes ordinary people extraordinary. Exactly how can we be extra in our personal and our professional lives? In this season of the Rise Up in Real Estate adventure, there will be a monthly rhythm, meaning each month we will have 4 unique episodes. In one episode, we'll tackle a pressing current real estate industry thought. In another, we will chat with a local difference maker in the real estate space. For our 3rd episode, we will host a respected national thought leader. And finally, we will have a 4th bonus and surprise episode. And in each episode, we will be digging into not only what those people think, but who those people are. Along the way, it's my hope that you'll laugh some, you'll be challenged some, you will get inspired some, and if we are lucky, maybe even figure out a way or two you can rise up in your own life and be the best human that you can be. So the challenge is, let's all rise up. Hello, Rise Up Nation. Welcome back from an incredible holiday season. Welcome to season 2 of Rise Up in Real Estate. And why is this season 2? Well, we're going to do this show like semesters of college. College is one of the highlights of my entire life. And I just loved how you go to school in the fall, you take a break, and you go back to school in the spring, you take a break in the summer. So that's how we're going to run this podcast. And this is season 2. So we had 19 episodes, season 1, which took us up till Christmas time. And now we're starting first week in January after a very eventful holiday season for all of us, I'm sure. But I welcome back Rise Up Nation. We're excited to have you all here listening, and you are in for a treat because I say this a lot because I just love people, but this is one of my favorite people that I have on the show today. And she is just I don't know that I've ever seen, I know she does get upset, but I've never seen her upset. I always see her smiling. She's just a hard worker, a great human being. We have a lot of the same things in common, love the same things. But I want to introduce to you my guest today, Terri Branson with We Insure Advocates. Terri, thank you for being here. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thanks, Ted. I was so excited for the invite.
Yeah, and we're shooting this on Martin Luther King Day. So this is like the quickest turnaround of all time because I had a baby over the last few weeks. And it's a good thing we took a little break from the podcast because the baby was a week late. And everything's happy and everybody's healthy. We're sleeping so good for 2 hours at a time. But this is going to be a quick turnaround. Terri might put this episode even live today, which would be exciting. But I'm glad you're here on Rise Up in Real Estate. And the purpose of the show, as you know, is just to introduce humans to humans, talk a little bit about business, talk a little bit about things. But why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Like, I'd love to know where you were born, a little bit about your childhood, college, husband, kids, and I'll ask you some follow-ups as we go along. So, Terri, tell us about yourself.
Well, yeah, I have not led a very exciting life, really, but I grew up in a very small town in central New York State. So that is Shenango County. And if you look at a map, we are between Binghamton and Utica, New York. It's a part of the state that most people don't even know exists because it's small family farms and rolling hills and that kind of thing. Nowhere near the city, about 3.5 hours from New York City. Okay. People laugh a lot of times when outside of the state when I say, no, really, it was a small town. My graduating class had 87 students. Like that was public school and not the smallest school in the county. So
that's amazing.
The vast majority of my friends, lived on farms, working farms, and just a real working class community, but also really tight knit. So I have the pleasure at my age, which we won't discuss, of still having that I have known since I was, for a couple of them, since I was born, others since kindergarten. And I think that's something that's hard to cultivate if you live in a, more metropolis area.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have, I don't know this about you, Terri, do you have siblings, like brothers and sisters?
Yeah, well, I have one living brother. Okay. He lives in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and his kids are grown and married as well. I had a sister with Down syndrome, So that made for some other interesting activities as we grew up. We were heavily involved in all of the Special Olympics with her. She was a Special Olympics swimmer. And she passed away about, 6 or 8 years ago. So yes,
Oh,
just
wow.
my brother and I.
I didn't know that about you. Wow, what a community Special Olympics is. We had a birthday party to go to a few weeks ago at the bowling alley in Surfside. And by the way, listeners, we're in coastal South Carolina. If you're wondering, I know we've got listeners all over, but I went to the bowling alley in Surfside Beach to this birthday party. And as I got there a few minutes early, there was a Special Olympics event ending where they were giving out trophies and medals and bowling. And there were some incredibly good athletes in that event. So you were part of that with your sister. That's pretty amazing. She was a swimmer. So I bet that did add a special part to your life for sure. What was it that brought
really
you?
did.
Like so you were in New York. How in the world? Where did you go to college? I'm assuming you went to college. And how did you end up down here in South Carolina from New York?
I actually went to college at the State University of New York in Binghamton, SUNY Binghamton.
Okay.
And when I got done, I started work in a management training program for one of our local banks. And I can't say that I was crazy about it, but it was a job because I was one of those kids that got out of college and literally did not know what I was going to do. Didn't really had no direction. So took the job and learned a lot. But the last 3 or 4 months that I worked for this bank, they had moved me to a branch that was about 40 minutes away from home in the good weather. And I was there in the winter. And so every morning and every night, it was driving on possibly black ice and lots of snow, and it was miserable. So the year that I had graduated from college, my parents had sold a motorhome that they had and bought a place in Myrtle Beach at Ocean Lakes. And so I got to that spring and I said to them, this is miserable and I'd really like to try something new. How would you feel about me going and staying at your house at the beach? And if I can find work and I like it, I'll stay. And if I don't, I'll come home. And they said, that's fine. So
Wow.
my mom drove down with me and then she flew home after she got me set up. It was like the second time I'd ever seen their house down here.
Oh my goodness.
So what was funny though is the year that I moved down was 1989. And that fall was Hurricane Hugo. And I was waiting tables and the restaurant was closed because it had so much damage after Hugo. And that fall, it snowed 18 inches, or that winter at Christmas time, it snowed 18 inches and didn't melt for several days. So we had some interesting introductions to South Carolina my first year.
Holy moly. So you're the responsible party for that. I didn't know anyone that moved here in 89, but what, if any of you don't know about that hurricane, it doesn't take long to Google to realize what a catastrophic event that was for coastal regions of South Carolina and even way inland as well. And then I remember that snowstorm. I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, and my dad lived in Charleston when that was my second year out of college, but my dad lived in Charleston, and I remember coming to visit him after that that hurricane. And then again that fall when that snowstorm hit, what a crazy few months that was in weather. That's never happened since, and won't ever happen again, hopefully. That's crazy.
Right.
What
and
restaurant?
Both times my parents said, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were going to say, I was going to ask you what restaurant you worked in then.
So the restaurant that I worked at doesn't even exist anymore. It was the Ship's Log in Garden City, kind of across from, there's a little strip plaza there now.
So I don't think I've heard of that restaurant that you mentioned, but I know Mandy has. She's lived here for her whole life. But so did you actually live in Ocean Lakes?
I did live in Ocean Lakes. Yeah. My first maybe year and a half at the beach. I sure did.
Wow. I don't know that I've known anybody that ever lived there. What an interesting place that is. So tell me a little bit about where did you meet your husband, and tell me about your kids. And I'm interested about the band. That's what things sticks out of my mind about you, is that I remember you being very involved, but where did you meet Frank?
Yeah. So my meeting Frank was actually really funny. So at the time, I was living with a girlfriend of mine who's still my friend. And we had been out in Merle's Inlet at several bars on a Saturday night. And she didn't want to go. But on Sunday, I wanted to go to the beach and kind of sleep it all off. So I took my chair and all of my stuff down to the beach and laid out my chair and stuffed my bag underneath it and that kind of thing. And promptly fell asleep because that's what I do at the beach in the sun as I fall asleep. So I was awakened, I don't know, sometime later by the sound of the tide coming up under my chair. And I hopped up and started dragging all of my stuff a little further back on the beach. And sitting back behind me, beyond the high tide mark, was Frank and his best friend and his girlfriend, his friend's girlfriend, the three of them. And I couldn't help it. I looked at them and I said, y'all were just going to let me drown, weren't you? And they were laughing. Amy immediately starts me, oh, we didn't know if we should say something. And Frank came up and kind of squatted down next to my chair and started chatting with me. And it was a week or two later that he asked me out. And so what's really even funnier about that is we met early part of July and got married on New Year's Eve the same year.
Holy
long
mackerel.
courtship.
Yeah, long. I guess once you've saved someone from an incoming tide, the rest is very easy to do. That's so funny. And you're still friends with that lady and her husband. You're friends with them now.
Yes, yeah, because so Tony and Frank actually had grown up together in Asheville, and Tony had moved down here a couple years after Frank moved. So yeah, the four of us are still really good friends.
That's cool. And now you have two adult children. Tell me a little bit about your children. What do they do and where are they now?
Yeah, so we have two sons. Cole is 25, Will is 27, almost 28. And oddly enough, for almost a year now, the two of them have lived together in Greenville, South Carolina. Our older son moved up there first a couple of years ago for work. And just last spring, Cole moved up and moved in with him when they had another roommate move out. So there's actually three guys sharing a townhouse up there. And so my older son, Will, is an IT administrator for a medical blog. And his younger brother, Cole, is actually back hunting for work again right now. He had a temporary job with Michelin that came to an end at the end of December. So he's back on the job market. But they are some of the most interesting guys you'll ever talk to. They can talk to anybody, and they're hilariously funny. So they're just really good people.
So they got both of those qualities from their mother, right? Because you're pretty funny yourself, and you have an easy time talking to people. Wouldn't you agree?
Most of the time, what's funny is I'm actually pretty introverted, but I'm great one-on-one. I'm not good in a big group.
Okay. That makes there are people that are that way. Like probably one-on-one, you seem like an extrovert. We've talked about that on this show before. That it's an interesting thing that introverts one-on-one are way better than extroverts are one-on-one.
Well, we'll have to go with that because I can do it. I can do groups, but it's not in my comfort zone. I've just learned how to do it.
Right. I gotcha. So tell me a little bit about when you were at Ocean Lakes and you were you said you were looking for work after the storm. And how long before you got into the field that you're in now? Terri's in insurance now, if you don't know. And tell us how you ended up in the insurance world.
Yeah, I actually spent a couple of years in retail. So another funny thing, because I've been around the block so many times, is that when Inlet Square Mall in Merle's Inlet was first opened, I was actually the assistant manager of a little boutique shop there and became the manager the next fall. And now it's a practically dead mall. That just tells you how, shopping malls have a limited life too. And after I'd been there a couple of years, I actually got recruited by a life insurance guy to sell life insurance. And it sounded like such a great gig. And I already had, from a sales standpoint, I'd already learned some of the some of the skills, but I spent maybe 6 months in the life insurance business, and I hated it. Just hated it. It was not for me at all. So I did make a leap and took a job with an Allstate agent in Surfside, actually, and realized like that was the thing for me. I really liked it, picked it up quickly, really enjoyed it. So yeah, I started in the property and casualty business with Allstate in 1994.
Wow. So you are one of the longest tenured insurance agents probably around here. That's a interesting transition into it. I get so frustrated with those Aflac commercials right now when I see Nick Saban on an Aflac commercial or Deion Sanders when I'm watching football. I'm like, what in the world? But life insurance is a whole different thing than what you do now, isn't it? I mean, you that's just totally night and day different. I don't know either business, but they're not the same, correct?
They're not the same. And it's not that I don't think there's great value in people having life insurance, because there definitely is. But the sales process is very different, and it's not a fit for me.
Right. So tell me now. So now you're running a team. There's so many things I want to talk to you about, Terri, because you and I met a long time ago. You were working and seemed to be very happy. We had this crazy idea that we were going to open an insurance company, and I said, "Well, we're not going to do that unless we talk to Terri first." And then you and I and Mandy met at lunch, and you said, "I'd love to," and we were like, "Well, I guess we need to do this." and now we're
backed
together.
You into it, didn't we?
Yeah, no. Well, I'm so glad. I mean, it's been the best thing that we've ever done. I think you've done a remarkable job. But now you're kind of getting into what you loved about your last position, where you've got a little team that's working with you now, and you've got you've got different parts to your role. You're not just a producer. Tell me a little bit about what you do for We Insure Advocates, so the listeners, if they needed anything, they would know what you could help them with.
Oh, absolutely. So We Insure Advocates is an independent insurance agency. We do most of the things that you would find at any independent agent, but our real focus is personal lines, property and casualty coverage. So that's your homeowners, the stuff you need coverage for as a normal human being, your home, your cars, a boat, an RV, golf cart, those sorts of things. Liability exposures you might have, especially if you own any rental properties, or we can also cover small businesses and offices and that sort of thing. So we do all of that. And I am thrilled that last year we actually grew our office from one person, being me, to 5. So we added 4 more agents, and they're all fabulous people and take really great care of our customers. So it's been really fun watching our business grow, but also watching them learn and grow and work together as a team.
Right. That's a little different. You were the Lone Ranger. I remember days that we walked by your office and you were like, "I'm so busy, I can't even get off my headset." Now you're so busy, you can't get off your headset for different reasons because you're growing a team and all that entails. Which do you enjoy the most, Terri? Is it producing, like writing policies and talking about insurance, or seeing the other people, like helping them, mentoring them, and watching them grow?
I actually like a little balance of both, because I do like talking to customers and doing the basics, asking them questions and trying to find out what's important to them and making sure that we've covered what's important to them. But I really enjoy training and coaching and developing people to do the same. So I really am happiest doing a little bit of both.
Cool. Yeah. And I think that's what you told me when we met that day. And really that lunch was, I don't know how you say it, but it was like how I would say it. It was like we were way out of our league, asking someone way out of our league to come and play in the sandbox with us. And when you said yes, we were like, this is the greatest thing ever. Mandy actually told me, she goes, let's not waste Terri's time. Terri's a seasoned professional. Why in the world why in the world would you take a risk like that with a venture like We Insure Advocates? It certainly has panned out, right? I mean, things
It's
are
panned out
going
great.
incredibly well, but why would you take a risk like that?
I I think I was at that point. Well, it was twofold, I would say. I was at that point where and every business does this, right? They all work in cycles. There had been some change in personnel above me at my last job that I wasn't feeling as appreciated as I was before. A little bit of change in my role, back to not as much training and mentoring or travel. And the other side of the coin was an opportunity, honestly, to work with you and Mandy. I mean, I sort of teased, but after we opened We Insure, I said to a couple of people, I said, I've been trying to get into this family for 3 or 4 years now. I'm finally here.
Yeah, if we'd have known that, man, we would have called you a lot earlier. If you live or own property along the coast of South Carolina, you probably need insurance. We Insure Advocates is a locally owned independent agency with industry-leading service support. Our team of customer-centric agents can explain your coverage options and help you craft an insurance program that fits your needs and budget. Data-driven for better value, people-led for better service. That's the difference of We. For all of your property insurance needs, please find us at weinsureadvocates.com or call us at 843-491-6990. Well, you've always been an incredible support for our real estate office. Like you've written policies for lots of our agents for lots of years. So it actually was a very natural transition. And I know you've been very well loved in the family now. And I can't even tell you. And Terry, the thing that I appreciate so much about you is like your videos and things. You're willing to take a risk. You and I are not brand new humans, right? We're not brand new in these spaces. But for you to jump on video, what was that like? Like you decided. Remember that day we talked? Tell me about that.
Gosh. Yes. So, because no one else was in the room when it happened. So Tad suggests to me, and so you have to bear in mind, like our business was only like a month and a half old, and Tad says, Terry, I really think you need to do video. There's not anybody else in your space doing video. And I wasn't sure if I was going to vomit or run the other way, because it was not something I was comfortable doing. And on the other hand, it's a new business. We have to get the word out. We have to do some things differently. And I was completely willing to do that. But I'm a complete technology nerd. I'm an idiot. So I said, I don't even know how to start. Like, do I just take the video on my phone? Then literally step by step, how do I get it onto the internet? I just had no idea where to begin. So you and Mandy each had some software suggestions for me that I could use right on my phone, made it super simple. And I just basically wrote a little script, jumped in and did one, and then just said, you know what, like anybody else who tries something new when it comes to marketing or just trying to be more visible in any industry, is that you've got to keep doing it. Once or twice is not enough. There has to be consistency. So I started doing one video every week that I called an insurance nugget. I learned in the first few weeks that to keep them shorter, so about a minute and a half, seemed to be the most effective, that people would actually watch them and listen more often if they were short. And I just kept doing them. So I've literally done them every week, with the exception of, I think, like 1 or 2 weeks each year since that time. So a little over 2 years of weekly video.
Yeah. So a lot of things that you said there are so relatable to our real estate audience that listens to this podcast, because you heard her say consistency. I'm not sure how many times I've said on this show that compounding effect is what runs the world, really. I mean, a compounding effect of eating a cheeseburger every day, you won't like it. compounding effect of exercising every day, you'll love it. And you just said that about being consistent, compounding effect. You're not gonna get results with one video or two videos. But here's an interesting thing. Like, you are, what, 2 years into doing videos, you said? And when we talked back then, I said, who in your space is doing it? And really no one. And here we are 2 years later, and who in your space is doing it? Still really no one.
Still not
Right?
much of anybody. Or if they are, again, it's not consistent enough to be the thing they're known for.
That's right. And have you had some, so it was like, it's probably like somebody asking me to go, Paris, like, let's jump out of an airplane. I would say you are crazy. It was probably that scary to you when I asked you about doing a video. You're an introvert. You're like, I can't imagine my face on a video, my voice. Who wants to listen to it?
No, who wants to listen to it? Nobody wants to see me. And honestly, I also had, again, like, we're kind of new in our partnership. And I was like, I'm going to screw this up and they're going to fire me. Then what am I going to do?
I didn't think that even once, but
I did.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry you had to feel that. We're not that mean. Now you know that about us. We're not that mean. We would never fire someone for taking a chance, right? But so what's the result been? Have you noticed? Have you had any feedback at all, or any traction?
Yeah, that's actually super interesting because video has made me recognizable to people that I don't even know. It's its own small version of celebrity, if you will. So I've been to a meeting of other insurance agents where different partners come in, who have ancillary businesses to ours. Right. And I've had people step up, and say, oh, hey, I know you. I've seen your videos. And it's, somebody, I have no idea who they are. Never seen them before, but they recognize me. And I would say the most exciting part for me was I happened to win a trip to Chicago last April with our We Insure group, and one of our co-CEOs was at this one venue. When we came to the top of the stairs, I nudged my friend who was there with me, and I said, that lady over there, that's one of our co-CEOs. Her name is Deb Franklin. And I had seen her and heard her, of course, on Zoom meetings and that sort of thing, but we had never met in person. And I'm just a small cog in the wheel of the We Insure corporate world. And she turned around as she was talking to some other people, and she pointed across the group and said, I know you. You're the one that does all the videos on social media. And I thought I would fall over. I had no idea that someone at her level was even seeing those.
Yeah. I'm surprised. If you keep doing them, I'm surprised they haven't tried to leverage you yet. Like, somehow have you teach that, or somehow have you talk about it at a conference or something. You continue to do. But I know locally you've had some feedback too from real estate agents and such that you're sending that video to, and I'm proud of you for taking that chance. And you've done, another thing that Terri has done is she's gotten better at it. Like, she's a student of it. So she takes suggestions, and these are all things that you could learn from Terri. She takes suggestions well. She tries new things, even from something small, like when the first one you did, you said, hi, this is Terri B. And I thought, that's so catchy. You need to keep doing that. You've done it now. And if I don't hear that, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I pretty much do the same intro and log off on all of my videos. And, part of it at the end is a call to action too. And it is surprising over the last year in particular, how sometimes I will have people that have called or emailed us. And when we ask, how did you hear about us? Or, did someone refer you? They will say, I saw your videos on Facebook. Yeah. And I'm surprised every single time. I won't say it happens every day, but I'd say probably once a month we have somebody that says they saw my videos. Mike, one of the agents on my team, was actually talking with someone that he knew in New Jersey last week and was working on some insurance for him down here. And the guy said, oh yeah, I've seen Terri Branson's videos online. I don't even know how he got connected to those. I think it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And are they on a YouTube channel? Do you have a YouTube channel, Terry? I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we do, but I think we have 2 subscribers. I think it's me and Andy.
yeah. The interesting thing about that, and you do have to, interestingly enough, like Facebook and YouTube don't play well in the sandbox together. So they don't promote each other. So it is
Right.
it's like they're not competition, but they're trying to get the same viewership or listenership. But it's interesting. What I've always learned about what I've known about video is so you've done 2 years worth of videos. Let's say you've done 50 each year, or maybe even 51. You've got 100 videos that are out there. And when you're sleeping at night, they're working. Jeremy Blanton, one of our real estate agents, he told me one day that he has the number of hours that people watch his videos every day. And it's certainly not how much he's not doing videos that many hours a day now, but his people are like, I've had people watch videos of mine that I did 4 years ago and comment on it. And I'm like, wow, I did that 4 years ago and it's still working for me. It's almost like an employee. Once you've done a video, it's like you have an employee out there working like a ninja. 24/7, just trying to penetrate people's minds. So good for you that you've.
It is. It's been pretty impressive. I had one of my realtor friends actually told me that because I also began emailing them to a lot of different contacts. So one of my realtor friends that she told me that she actually saves all of my videos in a folder, and that she tries to remember what the topics were or label them. And then when she has a client who has a question, she forwards them my video. And I mean, I couldn't pay for that. That's not only another employee. That's a marketing person too. Anybody that shares the video or forwards the email, that's fantastic.
And how do you, I've never asked you this, but I have some of my listeners to the podcast and to my videos, they ask me, how do you come up with all the content? Where do you come up with your content, if you don't mind sharing that?
Oh, yeah. Well, the first few videos, were literally like week to week. What kinds of things have people asked me this week that I figure other people are going to want to know about? More recent, and I still do that actually. If I'm in a pinch, I'll just think back, as I've talked to customers in this last week or so, what did I have to explain more than once or explain in a different way? But now, honestly, right now, there's so much happening in the insurance industry that there are some new topics to talk about all the time. So I get a couple of online subscriptions that sometimes will give me a little nudge or a suggestion. And there have been days I just walk around the office and whoever's there, I say, you got anything insurance question that's burning on the top of your mind that you want to know that I can answer on my podcast? And now that so many people have seen them for so long, I do have people that pipe up, you know what, I don't think you've ever talked about. And what's funny is sometimes I have, but maybe it's time for me to revisit that same topic from a different angle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So there's still a lot of evergreen content, a lot of things happening. You probably don't have the luxury that I have. There are a few people doing real estate videos, and I can go and listen to some of those and hijack the content and use it in my videos. But great job with video. I'm excited. You guys can find her. We'll let her share her contact information in a minute, and you can use her videos as well. So I always like to, I can't believe it's been almost 30 minutes we've been talking. As you know, I like to talk, but I wanted to ask you a couple of questions that I ask all of my guests. And thank you for being willing to share these things. One thing I like to talk about is what is, and introverts don't love it, love talking about it, but what do you feel like is your superpower, Terry? If you had to, there's one thing that you could do on this planet, what would it be?
If for work related, I would have to say I'm the insurance to English translator.
Okay.
Because for most people, I can break down the insurance lingo so that it makes sense to common people.
That's
like
awesome.
Everyday people.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can see that you are a very, listen, I didn't before. You've had our policies, mine and Mandy's, for a long time. And how many claims have we had? We've had a sunken boat. We've had a little bit of everything.
You had a little bit of things
We've
going
had a
on.
little bit of everything. We just punctured the top of one of our vehicles by accident, and it ended up being a $15,000 fix. And here we go again. My car's broken down. I even called you when my car broke down one day. It had nothing to do with insurance, but I said, can you help me? What in the world do I do? But that's a good one. And is that the same? Are you that way personally as well? Like, have you always been able to see through the noise as a parent or as a spouse, as a friend? Are you that good too?
Uh, Actually, no, probably not, but I am a pretty good listener. So I like to listen, and I like to kind of as much as possible curate, if you will, my response to what I know about somebody, and like what I know about their heart is, a lot of the way I approach my kids in particular is I know if they're saying one thing that it comes from this place, and it might be different from the brother or a friend.
Yeah, that's a great quality to have. I like to think I'm a good listener, but my mouth moves way too much for me to be a great listener. So that's something I could learn from you probably. What about a book? Is there a book, either professionally or personally, that you love? We like to share that and put it in the show notes. So if anybody wants to commandeer that idea and get on Audible or buy the book, they can.
Yeah, actually, I read a lot more fiction than anything else, and I'm a real fan of historical fiction. So last year, I read a book that my mind just keeps returning to, and it's called "The Woman with the Blue Star." Uh, Pam Jenoff is the author, and she had worked at the Pentagon and for the State Department. This particular book is set in World War II Poland. I just found it tragic and fascinating at the same time. It was really moving to me and based on some real people and situations, so I liked it even better.
That's really neat. That I didn't know that about you. This is why I do this show. You guys laugh at me every week. You listen, but every single show I learn something about the guest that I thought I already knew most things about. And this is my thing for you is, well, number one, you are the like the insurance whisperer. You make it make sense. But for you to know that you like historical fiction, I bet there's a listener out there that will message you about that, because that is a good way. That's a cult of people that likes that kind of reading. I have an uncle that's that way, and very fascinating. I want you to when you send me the information about yourself, put that in the email so I can share that in the show notes. That's a good one, because a lot of times people say, "Oh yeah, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy." Well, I love you and Kristen Bouillon have gone off the beaten trail and shared some fiction, so that's awesome. I love that. Any other book that you had, or is that the one you want to share?
No, that's the only one I can think of at the moment.
Okay, cool. Last but not least, the last question I'll ask you I'll ask you to share your contact information in a moment, but what is it that you like to do? The name of our podcast is Rise Up in Real Estate. And the idea behind that was, it's what you just said. You have to be able to rise above the monotony and the mundane and even the negativity sometimes in the world. What is it that you do on a daily basis? And there is no right or wrong answer, to kind of rise up in your personal and or professional life.
Honestly, Tad, I'm a really simple person, but sometimes simple is what people forget. For me, it's always been get up, show up, and then smile. I mean, there are plenty of days when I just don't want to get out of bed, but I know I've got to do it. And that's the first step. And sometimes you feel a little better once you've taken that step, and then show up at work and be there and do it and smile, because you just don't know who needs that. Even if I don't feel like it, somebody else might need that.
Yeah, simple is way, way, way better. We just went into the new year where everybody made these huge declarations from the rooftops that they're going to change this or that, and they're going to do this or that. And they've probably, if they're like me, they've said those things in the past, probably in January, just like they did this year. But if you have the courage to do the simple things, like you just said, and not be afraid to just be simple, I love that. So get up, show up, and smile. And if those of you that know Terri Branson, know that, I mean, we do a Zoom call with her every week. And every single time, there's two people on the call that I know are going to have the biggest smile on their faces, and one of them is Terri. And I appreciate that about you. When I see you in the office, you're always so pleasant. And I know this is not a Pollyanna thing. You've been through some hard times, and you've some days you say you don't even want to get out of bed, which is hard for me to believe, but you put on the happy face, and it does transform the inside when you do that. And I appreciate that about you. And you do, from an outsider speaking about who I think you are, one of the first things I would have said was about your smile. So excellent word of wisdom for us, just to get up, show up, and smile. I love that. Love that. So why don't you share with us real briefly, Terri, how can someone find you? If you said something on the show that resonates with someone, spell your name and then tell us where we can find you on platforms anywhere out there.
Sure. So my name is Terri, Terri Branson, Branson. I usually tease people and say, just like Branson City, Missouri. And best phone number is at the office, 843-491-6995. We Insure Advocates has a great website, www.weinsureadvocates.com. And We Insure Advocates has a Facebook page as well, and that's where you'll always find my weekly videos. And you can, of course, scroll back and find previous ones too.
That's awesome. So you guys can, when you listen to our episodes, we run an ad during the middle of all of our episodes for We Insure. And Terri should have done the ad, but I was delinquent in getting it to the producer, so I had to do it. But when you hear that phone number and you hear that information, that's all Terri and her team of producers. And we've got one other of your producers that has shared with me that she wants to be on our show. So I'm going to interview Amanda pretty soon on the podcast too. So that's coming in the future. That's exciting stuff. She's
that is very exciting.
Yeah, she's a pretty cool person, and you have been a joy. I knew it would be this way. That's why I did this from my house with a new baby with someone like Terri Branson, because I knew you would be an easy chat. Thank you for being willing to share. I'm hoping it increases your personal network, and I'm hoping that you guys listening in Rise Up Nation will take the opportunity to reach out and learn more about insurance and more about what it means to be a insurance whisperer from Terri Branson. Thanks, Terri, for being on the show.
Thanks, Tad.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.